Alright. But how, what, well, of course I know what brings you here, but how are y'all this fine day? You know, I say it's fine, but it's mostly just hot. Honestly, a day like this kind of makes me wish I did invest into a hat. But to be honest, most hats don't fit my head. My head's too big. That's good. I mean, you know, sometimes as long as the others in your life are happy, I guess. Whittle seems content. Although he mostly just wants to go outside and look concrete and eat grass. They sometimes worry about, oh, he'll run out. He all he wants to do is like walk out a step and just start eating grass. So I mean, I guess that's. Oh, that's not supposed to appear. Supposed to be like filtered out. Weird. I mean, two things. We don't have a harness, and yet he's not really a rolling around type. How to describe him? You know, most of his rolling around is saved for when he's. Almost, it's more of a, like a rare occurrence, really. Mostly just to lay down wherever he pleases. And occasionally climb. You know, there was... I think I'm pretty sure I do have the pictures. I'll find it, like, but he used to climb all over the place. And then, so, let this out. Now, I know I can find this. I just have to find the right one where it's the little dummy. But yeah, he used to climb up all the way up to like a top shelf, and he couldn't get down, so he just like would stare down and just meow kind of pathetically. It was funny. I hope I have the picture. No, I don't think I do. Ah, what a shame. I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. Oh, way out. So what? Mm-hmm. Nope, unfortunately not. Ah, that's a shame. I remember they are somewhere else, and I just can't find them. Either way, whatever. I mean, honestly, I can't say that and just not show a picture of him in general now. He's a little guy. That is definitely not him. He's a little dummy. Honestly, this was him a few years ago. Since then, he's grown, I guess, a little bit bigger. Let's see, do I have any recent? No, I don't think I have any recent pictures on the computer. I know I do, I'm an idiot. I'm pretty sure I do. This is him now. A little bit bigger, a little bit older. The browns are a little bit lighter now. There's only a brown on top of the head and his entire tail. It's interesting. Actually, no, that's in the middle. I guess I kind of get perspective-wise. He's not on the edge of anything. Okay, that's him. Now, I know we went over some of this stuff last time, but I kind of want to keep these things not concise, because God knows it wasn't concise last time, but together. So we'll just be going over those bits on layer 2 I went over last time. We'll just go over them again. Also, speaking of, when I was modifying the VOD, or the description in the VOD last time, I didn't know I could add timestamps, like whatever. Timestamp seemed like much more accurate thing. I mean, although I guess chapters does too. Whatever. Either way, I didn't know I could add them in post, which, you know, that's nice. Just one of those things that's just, oh, that's convenient. I mean, it makes sense, but, you know, it's convenient. And then when I came across that section, I was like, I just cover them all together. And speaking of, I guess we should get started. We're going, not starting with layer 2 actually, just with a sort of addendum that I kind of forgot to mention. So I think very first entry last time. So I guess we should get to that. Pay no attention to the silence. I will rectify that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll let you sit in the silence. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. That would be kind of funny, though, if I did just let the silence. Either way, we played Enter the Gungeon last time, so let's do Exit now. Oh, this is gonna be loud. There we go. Anyway, so before we start it proper, I guess something I do want to mention is a sort of addendum to the first entry we did with the Ammonomicon. With oh boy. With how I showed this. These pictures are huge. With how I started, but yeah, with how I started with this. Yeah, physical book, all that. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I forgot to mention what's actually interesting about it. And what was to add about it is that it has a bit of extra stuff. So it has a little foreword, which let's beef up that bad boy. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, so it's just like a little addendum, like, oh man, can't believe we got here. Oh, thanks from the team. That's nice. And yeah, and it mentions it like that because like on thinking about it now, I also forgot to take a picture. It has like little note sections too that you can actually take down notes in. And the book is divided into categories just like the actual Ammonomicon in game. Enemies, guns, bosses, items. But as it notices, we try to keep it as true in-game counterpart as possible, but we couldn't stop ourselves from doodling in the margins, which means the book is filled with doodles. I mean, before that, it also includes like other stuff, like artwork of the Steam trading cards. Like there's a bullets, there's bellow. The promo arts. Like that's from like the very beginning of the game. Like that's from the supply drop update, the advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of doodles. So I thought about taking pictures of all of them, but I mean it wouldn't be for here, it'd be for like, I don't know, make a post on like Tumblr or whatever of all of them. But that would be like almost over 200 pictures, like over 200 pages. Not all of them have doodles, mind you, but I mean, that's a lot. So just here's a few of my favorite. Or a few that are my favorite or I found interesting. Connecting with the secret characters we covered, or unused characters that I guess will be gone over again. We have the ninja, bladed with the bloody scarf that was mentioned to be probably theirs. We have the trick gun with little bloodborne doodles, like a little hunter bulletkin. I forget what they're called, but like enemies from the DLC. Yeah, it's the sword. Alright, I should probably play the album itself instead of just a singular song. There you go. Oh, and this is an interesting one, of the Bullet King. I mean, first we have shades and the picture of them, but the Bullet King, we have a little interesting story. So we have these 3 Bullet Kin. One of them find like a pair of like dentures, and the sunglasses become the duo boss, Smiley and Shades, while the third finds the lead throne, becomes the Bullet King, and then it's shown that while the Bullet King is the sort of leader of the first chamber, he is ultimately subservient to the Lich. Oh, I don't even know where I grabbed. That's neat. Some of that lore. That people love. And that I will go insane about later. Speaking of, we have Ganon, who is just Ganon. But, I mean, with the bullets past was that, past biggest regret was that I guess he didn't defeat Ganon or something. Then it stands to reason, okay, if the bullet didn't defeat Ganon, who did? And then I guess this is them explaining, oh yeah, no, it'd be the Lich, the cannon, and the Lich had just a gunfight. So they just two pictures, like two little doodles of them just fucking blasting the shit out of each other. And then this is just evidence of why, I guess, not having flesh in the center mass is good. And then just showing that, once again, a Gundam and the shop creep are one and the same. Here we have a doodle of him being cast into the grate he calls home. Oh, the Devolver gun. Just showing, like, a bunch of, like, Devolver digital published games. So let's see. I don't know what that top right one is. Then we have Minute. Like, starting on the top right. I know y'all can't see my mouse. I kind of wish you could. So starting from the top right, we have, I don't know, we have Minute, which is, well, it's again, we just live only a minute. Broforce, which recently got its final update recently, and that update came after several years. Then going down, we have the Talus Principle, that robot, at the bottom right. Which, that's a puzzle game, which there's a second one, I think. I don't know what the two to the left are. But then the bomb, that's Serious Sam. Hotline Miami. To the left of that, the guy with the chicken head. A bullet can, of course. Downwell. Which, use gun boots to go down a giant well. Brains, which I remember hearing a lot about, and I remember they made a lot of stuff about it. I don't remember exactly. And then in the middle, of course, the Lich head put on the Lich, and the Devolver D. It's just, I like those, like what they did a lot with the final, like, option is that they made, like, a giant spread. It's like with the Hegemony credit, they drew, like, all the NPCs, like, in the game. Granted, not all of them, because, I mean, this book came out before the final Farewell to Arms update, which I added, like, Bowler and all that. You know, we have the Ledge Goblin dropping her helmet, about to drop on top of Sir Manuel, Bello, Trork, Cadence and Ox, the Drunkard, just everybody. Which, again, it'd be helpful if I had a pointer. I should just download a picture just to point at things. Speaking of, we have which I didn't piece together before, but I guess two things. Like, one, the guns also come with, like, a picture of, like, what the bullets traditionally are. We have, like, a Simpsons doodle with the rad gun. And the Crestfaller, something I didn't piece together is, like, it was brought to a Gungeon by a disgraced warrior who discarded it when he gave up. And I just never put two and two together that, oh yeah, it's probably the Drunkards, because he's, like, the only guy there who is still alive and given up, and has a synergy where you just throw, like a beer bottle at an enemy and it just, like, stabs them. So I never thought about how I didn't put that together. And also, going back to canon, we have probably how the old Iron King died, and that it was probably canon. We've been coming back to the old Iron King, and this one's just cute. Well, not the Phaser Spider, although we do have a picture of a Killithid just opening a portal in reality to let the Phaser Spider in. Also, Charlotte's Web. More importantly, Phaser Kitten. I mean, a Misfire Kitten. Ain't that adorable? I wonder if they can also make clones of themselves. And this one, I just like it because I'm a nerd. Just fits on a North Star with a shotgun kin head, like Kenshiro. I'll admit, it's entirely because I like Fist and North Star that I included this image. Well, like, I mean, come on. It's cool. And then finally, we have the Lich. Showing, like, just like a bunch of the enemies coming together to the still living Lich. I mean, also the Gungeon, with the Lich standing in front, just like the title screen. I mean, it's the Lich, like, when he was still alive. Which I'm not sure if that means that the Gundead existed when the Lich was alive. And if it means that he was still alive after the Great Bullet fell. Now, I could have sworn the Great Bullet fell when he made, like, the gun that could kill the past, and it just sent him straight to bullet hell. But I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't exactly clear, and there's also just a doodle. So, you know, there's a lot of speculation you can just make on your own. And with that, that's the addendum done. Where is this? Now we can move on back to layer 2 proper. Okay, no, this is Exit the Gungeon. We heard the theme already. Okay, so now I'm just booting up Enter the Gungeon proper. And then we can start with layer 2. The Keep of the Lead Lord. The first chamber proper. And this is where things are, you know, still mostly just... I'd say common-ish knowledge. And then put my notes up. Okay. So first things first, we have the boss DPS Cap. Which, I mean, quite simply... And just, you know, change that so we can have more than one thing. But, okay, first things first, let's give ourselves, like, a bunch of spice. To, like, really pump up our damage. Give ourselves, like, I don't know, like, 8 spice. Oh, and also, something to note is spice can be stacked. And as we see, I used it past the point where it started taking white hearts. Does not kill me. Now then, let's give ourselves like the Vulcan cannon. So with the spice, we should just have like banger damage. As you can see, we have banger damage. And then I guess to show like single target damage. No. So ours like damage, like almost nothing should be alive. But while we're talking about while going through the enemies while we reach the boss, something to note is that enemies also have a DPS cap of 300. Just like 300 straight up. God, there's like a fly. There's like no fly I've ever seen, so I just got distracted. Only I could miss a shot that close. Hey, maybe I should pull this out. And just like that, yeah, spice will just replace anything. But as I mean, technically we're at Acre, so it wouldn't hurt us to do it. We still do have one left. Like, just so we survive a bit. So the heart. But I guess we could, just to show that the heart deficit is a thing. Let's see. Yeah. Give heart. Oh. Nice. As you can see, we have our health up, but you know, that's not giving us increased health. But yeah, the boss DPS cap simply refers to the fact that you can only deal so much damage to a boss. As in, you can deal like a certain max per second. As we were just obliterating enemies, like these bosses should be dead several times over, but because of the DPS cap, they survive a bit longer, and it'll be literally for that reason, so they're just not killed instantly. And of course we get spice, and because we're still below the health deficit, that doesn't give us heart. Now the boss cap actually used to be lower. And for the actual window, the bosses have it in like a sort of 3-second span. So like that damage cap, it don't like you can only deal that much damage in a 3-second span. But and you can if like with that op, with like one shot, you can only do triple that in a singular shot. However, if you play boss rush, there is no boss damage cap, and some weapons it already just bypasses to begin with. Now you can do it the hard way, which is buff your bullet damage to be over 1,000. It'll just automatically bypass it. But some weapons already just bypass it. The Yari launcher shoots these missiles. The makeshift cannon, which shoots these. Let's see. The high caliber, which is not due to the weapon damage itself, rather it's a mechanic. See that thing? If you do that, it only deals like I forget how much damage to bosses, but like if you just like spam that a bunch at a boss and you collect all the souls that it drops, like that damage it bypasses the damage cap. The pulse cannon. The glass cannon, which, you know, that makes sense. I mean, it'd be kind of pointless if it didn't do that. And then specifically, the boxing glove, but not like its regular thing, but it has like a mechanic where it builds up stars, like in Punch Out. Oh, huh. Which I don't even know how that works, to be honest. But you do something that builds up stars. Wait, don't ask me. Either way, if you build up a 3-star count, then that can bypass the boss DPS Cap too. But, in the Farewell Arms, there's actually raised up. And I guess just to give the damage values while we're moving on to the next thing, would be the first chamber, they can only do 30 damage, and it also includes the chambers related to it. Like, so, when I say chamber 1, it also includes the oubliette. So, chamber 1 can only deal 30 damage to a boss. Chamber 2, it's 42. Chamber 3, it's 60. Chamber 4, 70. Chamber 5, 78. And chamber 6, 80. Yeah, I do think it's neat. Now, the next one is Albern, which is a secret NPC that can appear in secret rooms randomly, although I've never seen it, mind you. But it does have a guaranteed spawn. In the Abbey. Now let's see, where the hell is it? Yeah, right there. So you just have to make your way to the Abbey. Either way, fools. With the old crest that you get from the oubliette. Make sure you don't hit it. I also don't have to explain it because, oh boy. Oh yeah, the heart purse. Gives you a health up. Let's see. All of them have like a little description saying different things. One of them, there's one that's a lunchbox. One that's a bottle. Plastic pendant. And just give him a map so we can find him. Okay, so he should be around here. So usually the Abbey does generate a lot with 2 secret rooms. And a good bet to find him, other than the usual shoot the wall, hope you can find a crack, is to usually try and use a blank in a special room, as it just feels like he has a tendency just to spawn by them more. You can see those bullet bishops. I mean, this place is just religious for whatever reason. I mean, so we'll get into why this place is religious actually. That will be covered. Oh. Wait, was that a confirmed? Oh wait, I got the High Dragon fire. Oh, it stopped me because the Estus Flask. Oh, and also finding a Pupulon over here, that actually does make sense. Yeah, so when you find Brother Albern, he'll usually ask you just some like inane sort of inane question that you have to answer. And you can answer whatever you want. As a vampire, don't worry about him. And then, so like... Oh, would you look at that? I have a thing already. Alright, yeah. There you go. You find him. That's Brother Albern. Knower of several truths. You ask him, he asks you a random question that changes per Gungeon. You answer whatever the hell you want. He's like, good enough. You open the chest. And usually it comes with 2 items. That's neat. However, what you can... Well, no, I'm not forgetting to unmute this time. There we go. What you can also do is destroy his chest. In which case you get lies. Where it functions like function-wise, it and junk are the same thing. However, you destroyed his chest for this junk and wasted like potentially 2 free items, so you feel bad about this junk. Well, you know, maybe you just feel bad for telling a lie. Who can say? Okay, next up is the Caped Bullet Kit. So, the character I'm playing as is the Bullet. And I guess since we went over this means we don't have the context of unlocking the character now. But so, after you first beat, I think the Dragon. Let's see. Yeah, pretty sure after you... I'll just look and make sure. I've removed the notes. Okay, now after you first kill the past, these things start spawning occasionally, like replacing one enemy in like in a room spawning. These guys, they just walk around and do nothing, and what you're supposed to do is leave them alive. Just let them wander around. And then eventually, after you kill every other enemy in a room, they'll disappear. Like that. Do that 5 times, you unlock the bullet. So that's just more related to the unlock method of the bullet. Ooh, next up is Unused Characters. And this is where things get a bit interesting. Now, unused bosses we get into a little bit later. And unused weapons, there are some we mention, but there's just so many of them. And a lot of them, like, they don't have really much meaning to us now. But as for unused characters, it shows like what could have been and whatnot. So using character, we can show them. So the first one is the Cosmonaut. Which, yeah, you have just a Makarov. Like, his starting gun, or their starting gun, would have been the Makarov. And as you can see, they're a little Cosmonaut. Here, have some blood. I thought the vampire would have called me by one of the nicknames, but I guess not. But the Makarov even mentions the Cosmonaut. Makarov was brought to the Gungeon by a lost Cosmonaut. Some say the brave lost soul still wanders the Gungeon, and it's no better or worse than any other gun, reflecting both how the Cosmonaut is an unused character, and how the Makarov would have been a starting gun. After that, we have Lamey, this is the much more interesting case. Where Lamey starts with the Lichy Trigger Finger, and the blood brooch, if I can remember the name. Yep, brooch. The unfinished gun, which I mean, Lamie has her own like gun, but I mean, it uses the unfinished gun like entry because, well, I'm guessing that was just used for testing purposes. Yeah, her own starting gun with its own animations. Also still has a full set of animations. And the interesting bit is that Lamie, like, has, like, a lot. She has... What the hell is it? Oh. She has her own alt skin. A boss card. Oh, okay, this one's just way too big. Her own little boss card picture. But, much more recently, she's actually brought back in House of the Gundead as a sort of partner for Super Space Turtle. Once again, this is way too big. Where she's known as she's known as the detective in House of the Gundead. Again. So it's interesting how she went from unused character to just a protagonist in a light gun game. Where she is hired to rescue the president that was kidnapped. But we'll get into that. Yeah, she goes into the Gungeon with Super Space Turtle. Actually, we'll be going into this several times. But she's even seen, in the beginning of the game, she is seen hunting down the results for Rat, if I can... And then she's called the, you know, all the way to the Gungeon. But keep your mind on this picture. It may not come into play today, probably not, but it will come into play later. Yeah, so Lamie just had like, I mean, of all the unused characters, had the most interesting journey. Then we have, as I showed in the Ammonomicon section, like that sort of addendum, the ninja. Where he has that, like, tie to the bloody scarf. Yeah, all the hard stuff. Holster, lunchbox, pocket. A really weird bottle. Yeah, dodge roll is replaced with a blink, like a teleport. Simple scarf was once worn by a skilled assassin, betrayed by his brothers and assumed dead. And would you look at his dodge roll? It's like a teleport. Even has a little sound. And he didn't come with these items. But what he did come with is the AK-47 and the 38 Special and Colt. I mean, the Magnum. Meaning he'd start out with a Synergy already. And also just an AK-47. Who knows if that would have been anything else. I mean, I guess with the character proportions used for the players, I guess I can see that. And then the last, well, formerly unused character would be Eevee. Like the Pokemon that can, you know, evolve into a lot of things. This was actually previously it was just like constantly shifting between the sprite sets of the characters. But now it spawns in the proper. I mean, it spawns in the paradox. If you go to restart the run, even does the modifier like keep modifiers. Like if you're doing another paradox run. And then with the unused characters, a lot of them just use the pilot as like a sort of default texture. So as just like with unused guns, the or unfinished guns, they use the unfinished gun. With characters, they use the pilot. Like if you go around with like Lamey, like the nicknames people use for her are the same as the pilot. Now with the Great Bullet, Kaliber, and the Hegemony of Man, I'll save that for the end of layer because those are gonna be the big ones. So just going next, we have the weapon skins. So after you kill a character's past, you get a different costume. The bullet becomes a little bunny, a sort of reference to the Link of the Past. No, I think it is, yeah. The pilot gets a little future outfit. The Marine becomes a knight. The Convict goes full Mad Max. The Hunter gets this cute little thing. Oh. Pet the dog. And that cute. Oh yeah. Keep going. Like even gets a little smile. Robot becomes just a straight up Terminator. And I guess if I were to, the cultist becomes an apple. Which, yeah, that's just more funny than anything else. But if you go back in one of these alternate outfits and kill your character's past, you unlock this thing, which allows you to have like an additional layer of customization, where you can use an alternate skin for your starting weapon. But each one that matches your character's starting alt skin. So for the bullet, carrot sword. And if you look closely, instead of a sword beam, it's a carrot. Like, the pilot gets like a golden laser. The Huntress's old rusted revolver gets replaced with a clean one. The Marine has like a magic gun. And so every character except the Paradox, who just uses a starting character's weapon anyways, and it can use the alt skin. And the Gunslinger, who you have to kill his past anyways to unlock him. Oh yeah. And while we're here, the Mimic Gun. A slight chance upon picking up any gun is that it could be replaced with the Mimic Gun. And you're stuck with it until you find and pick up an ammo, or you deal a certain amount of damage to your enemies. But of course, since I gave myself this weapon, I can switch between it as much as I want. And it doesn't show up, because it doesn't have an entry, because it's supposed to be just a Mimic. I wish it would, though. But its effect is that it pierces enemies, but to make it harder for you, any enemy bullet it touches becomes jammed. Which it's kind of hard to show with enemies that don't shoot bullets. These also do not shoot bullets. Yeah, it turns the enemy's bullets into jammed bullets, meaning they go from dealing half a heart to a full heart of damage. Then next up is Mod the Gungeon, which as you can see, that's currently what I'm using to just at the very least have access to the console. And by at very least, I mean that's literally all I'm using it for. It has some telltale signs, but like that rug by the entrance. But also just replaces the title screen wholesale with Mod the Gungeon. Although it's to note, Mod the Gungeon is depreciated now, meaning it's no longer used, in exchange for just a more sort of like direct modding tool. So this is an entry that, well, it's sort of dated now that Mod the Gungeon's gone. I mean, it's not gone per se, it's just like, you know, there's no reason to use it anymore for like serious modding efforts. And then we have, yeah, we went through Albern. Oh, the D-pad, of course. The D-pad gun, which directional, has two moves that sort of require a command. One of them, it tells you in the entry. This crossover moves are used, notably back, back, low punch. So if I hit back 2 times, it spawns a little hook. With back, back, low punch being a sort of reference to Scorpion's, well, get over here, his little hook shot from Mortal Kombat. You can actually steal items with this, but because you're also shooting bullets, it's not really recommended to do this in the main shop, because it'll just make Billow angry with you. And unlike most stealth attempts at stealing items, you'll get caught almost immediately. You're like almost guaranteed to get caught. However, the other one you can do is if you do, like normally you shoot bullets like this. But if you go down, then right, you shoot a powerful fireball as the first shot. This being sort of the Hadouken from Street Fighter, where it's just like most popular as a quarter circle forward. You go down, diagonal, like down and right, and then right. But you just need to do down and right. So those are 2 little sort of secret moves. And then next is Payday. Now, with the Payday items, it's a set of 3 items that can have a chance to spawn in the shop if they have like a 5% chance to spawn in the shop, or if you get the biggest wallet achievement, which is have like 300 coins on you at once, then it has a guaranteed chance. They'll be priced at $9,999. So your only option to get them, which unlocks them, is to A, actually try to legit get that money through like clone runs or whatever. B, get the shop angry, keep it so angry he kicks you out, which the item will be left for you to take, or steal it, which you know, is much more in spirit of it. So with a clown mask, it turns you into like one of the main guys, and it spawns a little helper. And for every other one, it spawns a second one. Oh, it's loot bag, I think. With that, you have a full team. As I'm pretty sure in Payday, you play in teams of 4. Like, one shoots a shotgun, one uses blanks. And one like uses like a taser. But this goes both ways around, because in Payday... because if you get overwhelmed by bullets, so let's say, for example, you're about to get hit. Like, oh, blank. Gets rid of all the enemy bullets. That, and there exists a bunch of items that give them, like, additional effects. The amulet items. Like, deals more damage. Has a chance to inflict a random status effect. Actual status effects. Poison, ignite, freeze. Higher knockback. It's used entirely as like a get-off-me tool. Which you wouldn't... They're mostly reserved for use against bosses. Although there are two other uses. One is that there's a specific shrine that has you use them to potentially get a chest. The other is to open secret rooms. Down here. So like if I went down there and I used a blank like this, it'd open up a secret room. Because when a room is grayed out like this, it means it's physically unable to be accessed. For secret rooms, you pop the blank, you can get to them. Now then, as I was saying, with the Payday thing, it actually went both ways. With Payday actually getting masked based on Enter the Gungeon characters. The Bullet, the Marine, the Cultist, and the Robot. That was it. So I gotta say, personally, I'm more of a fan of what Gungeon did with actually having tangible, like, effects. I mean, Payday, like, they add in guns all the time. So I'm not sure why they couldn't just add, like, a little neat Enter the Gungeon gun or something. Even if it would have been just a skin. But that's just me complaining. Okay, so Payday. Ah, the Sprun. Okay, so here's hoping I can get the thing this time. This is the Sprun. What it does is it has a whole list of like various conditions it'll just randomly give you. And when you pick it up, it picks two. So let's see. One of them is like use your last blank. Nope. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna give it to myself over and over and over until it gives me that condition. Because the glitch refers on what happens when you trigger the condition. And it has a list of like, I want to say like 9 different conditions. I honestly should have written that down. Either way, so what it relates to is once you do trigger its effect, it transforms into like a powerful gun, and you're sort of forced to use it for a little bit. You'd think I would have better luck at pulling a 1 out of 9. It's a 2 out of 9 actually. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly look at the effects. Because it's like... Okay, let's see. Uses the last blank, takes heart damage, loses the last piece of armor, it goes down to half a heart, runs out of ammo, I'm set on fire, I take damage from electrocution or poison, I fall into a pit, I flip a table, I use an active item. Okay, no, it's a 1 out of 9. So it's only one of these. So I was right, it was 9. Okay. Get Molotov. It's not that. I'm inside of fire. I'm gonna just go down to heart. Well, I'll go down to half a heart. Nope. That's blank. Damage to the heart. Last piece of armor. Oh, what was it again? Oh, wait, no. Nope. And gun runs out of ammo, I guess. I can do this much easier. Electrocution of poison. Flips the table. Coolant leak. Shock. Rifle. Ah, that should be hurting me. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, I was electrocuted. That didn't work. Okay. Okay, is it literally fall into a pit? Did I really get fall into a pit out of all of them? Frankly, that's more impressive than anything else. Actually, wait, I may not even have any pits. This is the first floor. Frankly, that's impressive. Molotov. I guess it technically would be the fastest way. Ow. This thing is annoying. Unless, maybe that's something, I gotta, fun fact, I got footage on this thing. Wait, do I have footage? I hope I do. No, I don't think I do. Oh, that's a rip. Okay. Okay, so what happens is that it gives you this thing. It spawns and gives you this thing. Then what you do is you drop this off. You go into a different room, let it get stolen before its effect runs out. So when it does that, you're permanently left stuck with this. So you get like a different gun. But, I mean, when you're using a powerful infinite ammo thing like this, I mean, there are worse options. By saying that, I mean this is really good. But I mean, since I picked this up, spawned this with gun, it works differently. That is like an unlucky streak that I got. Okay, you know what? Okay, what it does with RNG a lot is that it just likes to just keep it until something's done. So maybe it's just like it's set on the seat or whatever. Beats me. Okay, Lil Bomber Nerf. Okay, so back when Synergies were first introduced properly... yeah, that sounds about right. Give a Lil Bomber. And then give coin crown. It triggers this synergy, King Bomber. Where really all it does is whenever you hit an enemy, it gives you money. What used to happen is that you could trigger the synergy with a master round. So yeah, like I'm just hitting enemies and getting massive amounts of money. And so once you get this and you start making bank. But when it was first introduced, you could actually trigger it using a master round, which you get from beating a boss flawlessly without getting hit. And you can do this with the master round from the first floor. So what would happen is, because this is like a D tier gun, players would get it constantly from like a brown chest, or it was found in the shop on the first floor. The player would buy it, perfect the first boss using like the bullet or something, because they're quite strong at that. And then the money problems would just be set. So this was deemed as like way too powerful, and so it was nerfed just to use the coin crown. Okay, the microtransaction gun DLC. Now this is, I know how that sounds, but trust me, it's not that at all. I have this right. Okay, so I don't have a picture per se, because I may be a bit of a fool. But when you go to buy into the Gungeon, like one of the things that's an option is that is a collector's edition, which has like a little comic, the music, like the official soundtrack, and as a little bit the microtransaction gun. You cannot even buy it on its own. It just comes as a little add-on with a special collector's edition. And so what it does is it does one thing. It unlocks the microtransaction gun. Let's see, where is it? Oh, wait, what am I saying? I can just give it to myself. It gives you this, and it fires your money. One bullet per everything of money. So it just gives you that gun for free. Or it just already unlocks it for you. Because it's just kind of funny. Okay, let's see. Oh, House of the Gundead. Okay. Yeah, so it's just a little bit. You cannot actually buy this, thank God. Okay, let's see. Going back. Okay, the busted TV. So the busted TV is actually a thing used, like how the red cake bulletkin is used to unlock the robot. I mean, the bullet. You use the busted TV located in the second floor, after you complete the first shortcut, the busted TV is left there. And then what you can do is you pick it up, you take it all the way down to the forge, which is where you fight the dragon, where the blacksmith is. You give it to her, she fixes it up, and then you unlock the robot. But what makes it hard is, if you dodge roll, you drop it. And so you think, how am I going to get this across gaps? You throw it. But this does have a use potential. This does have a singular use. With a ring of triggers. Every time you use your active item, okay, well, it's supposed to work every time. Pick it up, you drop it. After like a short little cooldown, it gives you like a near constant way to use the ring of triggers constantly. Which, if you have something like Black Hole Gun, as you can see, it may just potentially be a bit strong. But of course, you know, you have to start mastering that cooldown. Okay, so now it's playing as a Gungeon again. Let's swap back to enter. Alright. So that's just a little thing that some people, it's a very specific setup, but I mean, it requires you to get a specific item that isn't particularly common before the second floor. But I mean, you know, some people think it's worth it as a synergy. Okay, now we reach like the first like sort of bigger entry. The bullet is Link. And that refers to how the bullet is just sort of a reference to Link. So, I mean, of course, you have the sword. Shoots the laser at full health, like, you know, the Master Sword did. Like the Master Sword does. When you defeat, the bullet's past, involves you fighting a Aghanim. Straight up Aghanim. It's mostly like Link to the Past references. As you fighting essentially Aghanim, even with like the Dead Man's Folly. And then Ganon, you know, Ganon. You stab the sword in his head. And even when you beat his past, you unlock... Where is it? Like, an item related to, well, Zelda as well. And I guess oh yeah, the chicken flute. You just summon the chicken. So yeah, see Ocarina, and the chicken it refers to he is of course supposed to be like a Kuko from like Legend of Zelda, and even has a similar effect of. Excuse me. Let's let it get hit a bunch. After it starts getting hit a bunch. Oh, it screamed, and then chickens are now attacking the enemies. So it even has like that same effect. Even the bullet's like a little alt skin. I mean, of course, Canon refers to Ganon using that more pig design. And, of course, something I forgot to mention is that, when you defeat the Shadow Magician, I forget if it's the first time or several times, but the Shadow Magician is a sort of mini-boss based on a Gundam. But if you defeat him a certain amount of times, you unlock another item that's constantly used in Zelda, which is just a straight-up bottle. This bottle. And then what you can do with that... Actually, no, that'll come later, because that refers to a later entry. But yeah, you can store hearts in it, you can just store things in it. And even the bullet's alternate costume is a reference to Link to the Past, where you try to go to the Shadow World without, like, the moon, without the pearl. You just turn into a rabbit, and all you can use is the mirror to go back. Hence why the item that gives the bullet the alt costume is a mirror. So, I mean, it's not even that the bullet is a giant Link reference, it's that specifically, the bullet is a giant Link to the Past reference. Which I think is neat. Okay, so, moving next is remove synergies. So a bunch of synergies were removed over time. So I mean, there's that like Lil Bomber Nerf. But other synergies have been like altered that have things removed. So diazepam. Okay. Oh, it's muscle relaxant. So you get muscle relaxant, and then give like sniper. Like steadies your hand. Diazepam. This synergy involves a lot of different like rifle weapons. So like the sniper rifle, you have like the M1. And so yeah, buffs the M1 as well. Like the but it used to also affect the crossbow, the crestfaller, the laser lotus, the shock rifle, and the thunderclap. Now, the crossbow is likely removed due to it being a starting weapon for the hunter, which I mean that happens a lot. As for the other four, it's probably due to them is being rifles in like the loosest sense. Now the crossbow also used to have synergy with platinum bullets, or it's like hell singing or whatever. Like just more referring to like its use against like evil things. But that was a move due to probably the crossbow being a starting weapon. Now the barrel. Give backup. In the backup gun, it spawns a synergy where the fish like appears out of the barrel. You know, it does that. It shoots, quite powerful, and then flops around and then starts shooting all over the place. Which, you know, that's terrifying. Fish flopping around with a gun. But the synergy also used to work with a bunch of guns, like the M1911, the 38, and the Derringer. But that was, it was eventually changed to just the backup gun, which I kind of don't get. It's weird. Okay, so next... before there were synergies proper, like this, they had this little arrow pointing up, there were some things in the game that just worked. The Cultist's starting gun, the dart gun, used to have a synergy with the Super Soaker, which is just like a straight up water gun. I'm in the sense that it no, it's a literal super soaker. Or Mega Dowser, sorry. Where the Mega Dowser used to shoot a I think bigger shot. But that was eventually, when synergies were added proper, it was removed. And the other bit has to do with battery bullets, which is a starting item for the robot, which is likely why it was removed. And the shock rifle, which is, as we saw, a battery. God, I am bad at parsing all of these. At least when I have to constantly search for one specifically. Either way, I mean, it's just a battery. I mean, now I'm just committed to finding it. How do I miss something this big? There it is. Battery. Shock rifle. There it is. So yeah, those things were removed due to... A lot of those were... a sort of common thread is a lot of them removed starting things, starting weapons. The crossbow or the dart gun or the battery bullets. A lot of them just remove. Although there is one that involves a starting weapon that still does remain, and that's Shotgun Infinity. With Shotgun Cola and Shotgun Coffee, it gives you a buff. It unlocks, in addition to making you run really fast, it gives you Shotgun Infinity. Where any gun classified as a shotgun, and that comes much later, they'll get a damage boost. But just a sort of a little preview, a lot of things that are considered shotguns, get a buff, regular shotgun. Like the elephant gun, shotgun. Regular shotgun, shotgun. Old Goldie, shotgun. Big shotgun. Not a shotgun. Does not benefit. But that is, go back to the point, the sawed-off shotgun, which is a starting weapon for the convict, he gets a buff to it. That gets the buff. Or at least I'm pretty sure it does. Because I'm pretty sure it is, because it just gives you a buff to anything classified as a shotgun. But after that, we have the witch room. Which, that's a super secret... super secret. It's a secret room. And so, what that does... Well... You find the secret room. You can tell by that cauldron in the top. You find it. And it's a room with 3 witches. They give you know, the usual old crone stuff. They seem to embrace it. Good for them. So what do we have here? You know, they speak in their rhymes and the riddles. What we can do is you can throw your currently held gun in there. It'll give you 2 curse, but also swap it out. And if you try going again, they tell you, don't get greedy now. So essentially, it's a free, like, exchange, but you get 2 curse. So, you know, be careful with that. Yeah, it's not one of the rarest secret rooms, mind you, but I mean, it's still pretty rare as far as occurrences go. And trust, I'll save this rant for later about it. But next up is House of the Gundead, which I mean, it's just a light gun game. I mean, we've already seen. Oh well, this picture's definitely too big again. Oh, never mind. No, it's not. Yeah, we saw Lamey going on hunting with the trying to hunt down the resourceful rat. Like, now you can see, it's like it's a light gun game. So, I mean that in the sense that it's a legit arcade cabinet. I can't like boot up Steam and boot it up. Like, no, if I wanted to play this, I'd have to find like an actual location where an arcade cabinet of this thing is. I think that's interesting. Yeah, so what it goes is like the Blobulonians like descend. They kidnap the president of the Hegemony of Man. They kidnapped the Hegemony of Man. No, yeah, they're good. Although it wasn't like an in-house thing, I don't think so. They go down through like several things where, I mean, interesting to note that it's only 5 levels, but like it's the entrant, it's the Keep of the Lead layer, the Gungeon proper, the mines, the forge, meaning we just skip the hollow, and also instead of the dragon, you fight the high priest. And then immediately after that is the Blobulonian lair, which is actually the ship we saw at the beginning. And we see like the Blobulonians have like experimented on some of the bullets and the... That's terrifying. What the heck is this? Oh right, yeah, the Cosmonaut. Sort of going back to the Cosmonaut for just a little second. There's a poster of him in Exit the Gungeon. I could see him but like beneath that torch. You know, it's a nice little continued reference to the Cosmonaut. Yeah, aside from that, yeah, it kind of looked like that in the in-game thing too. Yeah, the blobs have made their own mecha suits. Yeah, at the end of the game, a planet just where the Gungeon was on just explodes. And also, it's where we find out that the Blobulonians have a queen. And that implication, well, we'll get into that. Yeah, so it's just like a straight up light gun game. With dodge, you have to shoot like targets. I mean, it's like the standard like light gun thing. Shoot specific targets to not get hit. There's not much as shooting to interrupt enemy attacks, but I mean, in purpose, they're kind of like the same thing. So it's just like, you know, it's just a neat little thing. Okay, so next up is the finished gun. So, the finished gun, I mean, well, first things first, there's the unfinished gun. Still warm. It shoots you like these like things that are like bullets that like quickly cool off. Still in the process of being forged. Barely functions. And there's a small hourglass embossed in the cylinder. And technically, when you unlock the finished gun, it's supposed to replace the unfinished gun in every case. So, alongside being an S tier item. So you could get it in a D tier situation, like in the shop, or destroying a chest and getting it as a drop. And since it's the unfinished gun would have been there, the finished gun replaces it. So it's just a little thing to make it slightly more common. But as for the finished gun, it gives you 5 curse, which is like halfway to like getting the Lord of the Jammed after you. So what it does is it fires these like bouncing bullets, and this last one like pierces and reflects enemy bullets. Also, isn't that cool? Now, to unlock it, you will have to complete the Ammonomicon. As in, every entry needs to be filled. If something has an entry, you have to find that item. Now, there's actually 3... Like, if it doesn't have an entry, you don't need to find it. But there's also 3 exceptions. And just checking to make sure. Okay. Those 3 exceptions are, you don't have to find Rubinstein's monster, which is the synergy of Rubendyne and Rubendyne Mark II. Meaning, if you were to fill out this entry, you would have to find both of these in the same run. So I'm guessing, since it's not exactly impossible, but more rare, it was made so you don't need it. The other thing is you don't need to find is number 2. And by find, I mean unlock and find. You don't need to get number 2, which is the starting item of the cultist. If I could just find it. It'd be like by disarming personality. No, it's right here, dum-dum. Yeah. You get it, you unlock it by killing the cultist's past, which requires you to play in co-op mode. So I'm guessing just to circumnavigate having to play in co-op mode, or like, which what I did was let the co-op player die, finish the floor in 1 player, and then finagle both players to like the end and whatnot. To avoid that, I guess they just made it to where you don't need to do that. And then the third item you don't need is lies, which is what you get for destroying the Albern's chest. Which I'm guessing, since it's like locked behind a secret room, and those aren't exactly the easiest to find, I'm guessing they made it to where you don't need it. Because there is another item unlocked via secret room that doesn't have an entry, that one's gonna launch a tirade. Okay, so you don't need these 3. Lies, number 2, or Rubinstein's monster. But you find everything else, you unlock the finished gun. Which, fittingly, is here at the end. A gun to rule them all. Swan Song, a prolific gunsmith. Though only recently completed, it somehow feels very familiar. A small hourglass is embossed on the cylinder. Sands fully filling the bottom half. I kind of wish that was in the Ammonomicon. Because, I mean, the physical Ammonomicon, I mean. Because, like, it was made before this final update dropped. So it didn't have everything that was added after. You know, thanks for playing. And yeah, as note, it's the unfinished gun is the gun the blacksmith is working on, like, all the time you see her. It was just neat. Next is Old Man, which, going back to the world of secret rooms. It's another secret room type. Okay, yep. So once again, you just find it. And yeah, it's an old guy. Doesn't even have a symbol. Yeah, travel alone away. Dangerous. But, if you're alone, he gives you an item. Like, you know, like, it's dangerous to go alone, take this. That old Zelda, like, meme, and just thing from the first game. It references that. So, Old Man. But if you're playing in co-op, he doesn't give you an item. Which, I mean, makes sense. It's not dangerous to go alone if you're not alone. Or, I mean, I guess it is dangerous to go alone, but, I mean, you're not alone. You're not alone, are you? Oof. And actually does reappear and exit the Gungeon, where all he does is still give you a free item. However, there's no co-op in that one, so you don't have to worry about that. Let's see. Rarity-wise, I think I'd rank him more common than... He's definitely more common than the Witches. I think he may... Aside from Albern, who's like, has a guaranteed spawn in the Abbey, I think he's the most common. Alright. So, now we get into some of the big ones that I said we'd save for the end of the layer. First things first, the Hegemony of Man. Now, the Hegemony of Man, they're essentially the controlling force behind... What the... Nope. They are essentially the controlling force behind the universe at this time. Like, if you look through different entries, like, specifically the Convict, Budget Revolver, provided by Hegemony. The Convict was one that played to face a Gungeon in lieu of life imprisonment. Undo the crimes of facing eternity in the Gungeon, with no cost to the state. It was an accepted arrangement. The Hegemony of Man has, like, a military and like government stranglehold on the universe. Oh yeah, he did. The pea shooter. A literal pea shooter, mind you. Traditionally given to the Gungeoneers when they first survived the Gungeon. Is incredibly weak. And yeah, it is the first gun non-starting gun you get in the tutorial. And I guess just to clarify, this is a test gun that mod the Gungeon includes, which, to unlock it, you just need to, like, give yourself test gun. Or it's like, no, it's like this giant string. That drove me mad, because when I was trying to unlock the finished gun, just to show it off, like in the Ammonomicon, like, I needed to unlock that test gun as well. As you can imagine, it drove me kind of insane for a little bit. Ooh, that looks nice. Yeah, the Hegemony Man has a complete stranglehold with, like, plenty of things. I mean, as we saw with House of the Gundead, Blackstash is president. Whether that's... And Blackstash is... Oh, okay. First things first. Blackstash is the guy who... Hegemony official that betrayed the criminal mastermind Laser Lily, the convict, crippling her organization. After accepting a fortune in bribes overlooking the less than legal dealing, he used his knowledge of the organization to conduct a sweeping sting operation. So, and that's when she get caught and then won her plea deal to go to the Gungeon. So it's unknown if this happened afterwards. But as we see, like President B-Stash, like Blackstash is now president of the Hegemony of Man. So it's unknown if that was like after he caught the convict or before. Or it wasn't before, because it would have mentioned that. Ow. That's a new bit of information. Alongside with a direct conflict between them and the Blobulonians. But they're also the source of the Hegemony credit, sending currency throughout the Hegemony of Man controlled systems. So they even have an economic like stranglehold too. They are the money. Oh, and also what the Hegemony did is they're also related to the boss for the pilot, the HS Absolution. A giant dreadnought cornered by the pilot and his bird friend while they salvaged a ship in Hegemony space. They field hundreds of them to police regions of space they control. Not even just hold dominion over. The battleships have overwhelming power. And so the pilot just, left his friend to get caught. And then he later went to the Gungeon because that was his regret. His friend told him to run away. But, he regrets leaving his friend behind. Despite his friend telling him, go. So, that's two bosses that it's just related to the Hegemony of Man. And even in Blackstash, he spawns, like, little Hegemony soldiers. What's that? Convict Pass Soldier. That even, like, Hegemony, like, using an unused gun, now that I'm looking at it. It's a rifle they're using. But yeah, Hegemony just, like, forces attack her, and there's, like, the Blackstash. Let's see. And more to the point, there's also additional lore. There's the Void Corps. It's a military unit within the Hegemony's military stuff, like military that used to be famous for actions on and off the field. And for these ones are mostly carried by the lore within the guns. So yeah, the Void Corps assault rifle, Forest Defense Band of Hegemony Man, who are renowned through the sector for feats on and off. And following the dissolution, famed Void Corps captain, known as the Thunderbolt, made his way to the Gungeon. And this is where a bunch of the lore comes in. And this is the captain, we don't meet him because he's already dead. The Captain Alistair the Thunderbolt. Then there's also the Void Shotgun. used by the Void Core's frontline soldiers. There's the Void Core cannon. Let's see. Yep. Traditionally used by the Void Core for ship-to-ship combat. But this one used in the Gungeon is a handheld model. Sort of retrofit to function in human hands, made specifically for Alistair. And as for items, the shock rounds, they were noted as being Alistair's signature weapon of Alistair the Thunderbolt. Upon his second descent into the Gungeon, he famously remarked, "Lightning won't strike here again." He wasn't wrong. Meaning he likely died in his second trip. And within secret rooms, there are sometimes notes you can find. One of those notes is from Alistair. "These walls don't stand a chance against me. Blanks, who needs them?" And it's just noted from the Thunderbolt. Meaning, Alistair could open secret room walls without the use of blanks. Which is an impressive feat. And in the mention of, like, there's 2 uncut items, like unused items, that also sort of function like Thunderbolt. Like, that will relate to Alistair. I want to see if it works. No, okay. Okay, so that one, no. I mean, the Thunderclap has the thing called Alistair's Ladder, so it's like Jacob's Ladder. You know, Alistair because he's a Thunderbolt. But the two cut items. The first is just a Thunderbolt, which it's like a lightning bolt. And it works like exactly like Mario Kart, like the lightning bolt from Mario Kart. Like, all your enemies, like, shrink down, they're stunned for a bit. And it mentioned, it's said to have contained his soul. So, that's something. But I also like how there's a ring of fire resistance, there would have been a ring of lightning resistance. But that was cut because getting shocked would require both an enemy that deals shock damage, a gun that deals shock damage and doesn't make you immune, and just water. So since those circumstances were hard to come by together, it's probably why it was cut. But its cut description reads, "The ring originally worn by Alistair the Thunderbolt. The gemstone set in the golden band is cracked down the middle." So now we have the Void Core, who is this sort of military or dissolved military branch of the Hegemony. And Alistair, who went into the Gungeon for who knows whatever reason. We don't get any notation if he went into just a challenger or if he regretted something that led to the Void Core's, like, dissolution. So that bit is unknown. But either way, he's dead now. Next up, for the Hegemony Man, is the 10 Days War. This one is much more interesting. And should be prudent for us to go to the robot. Because, while there's not many details on the 10 Days War, what the gist of it is, it utilized robots and was also against robots, with robot soldiers traditionally described as having better weaponry than the common Hegemony soldier. After the war, robotic shock troopers that the Hegemony used were decommissioned, but some of them fled, leading to pursuit by special forces. Sort of like a Blade Runner situation. And you can see that with the Deckard. Like, come on, it's a giant square. Oh boy, it's another rousing round of Tuba can't find it. It can't be all the way up here, is it? No, okay, here it is. The Deckard. The following 10 Days War, a majority of the Hegemony shock troops were decommissioned. Some escaped. Special forces. This explosive hand cannon belonged to a detective who tracked his prey to the Gungeon. Now you may wonder, okay, what's that to do with the robot? Right hand of an assault robot that fled to the Gungeon. And then battery bullets. The shock troops of Hegemony Man consist entirely of heartless machines. Shielded from voltage attacks, the victims learn to fear the inevitable sting of their electrified shells. And like, so that's already confirmation that, oh man, the robot is a former Hegemony shock trooper. Which, considering the past, is very weird. Considering it's like a straight-up Terminator, kill the last, like, leader of human resistance thing. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, where's the left hand? Because the starting gun is the right hand. Okay, here it is. The left hand of an assault robot that fled to the Gungeon. And, like, in the robot's past, you get the left hand. So, this brings up the question. The robot, is the robot a former, I mean, assumedly, this means the robot is a former Hegemony shock trooper. But that detective who used the Deckard that pursued the robot, well, who do we know that's a detective? Like, who do we know that's hunting down targets and is known as a detective working for the Hegemony of Man? Who indeed? And like, okay, so it's like this guy like referred to her as a detective. I thought but my point is like if Lamie was still in the game, would that have been a thing for her? Would that still have been the angle? Would she have been that detective that chased down the robot to the Gungeon? Also, now that you mention that does seem pretty obvious now. So that's just an interesting little, like, sort of go about that, you know, of stuff that like what could have been. And even then, the 10 Days War, like, the more stuff is mentioned. Yeah, so it's just something interesting, like a bunch of theory crafting that one can do from the information you're given. But also related to the 10 Days War is the Mega Hand, like Mega Man. The most powerful robot masters would modify it for their own styles of combat. This one's basic, but it still works well. And like it's like referred to how it's modified due to having a lot of synergies, like with the camera having like time stopper, the saw blade, letting you shoot saw blades. So I mean, obviously it's Mega Man, but I mean it is also referred to as the 10 Days War. And in the terms of items, this is where another one comes involved. The Singularity. which I'm almost certainly is above. But I'm already down here. Singularity. Oh, there's a summon personality. Is not there. Oh, there it is. Creates a small black hole. First brought in by the Hegemony Man during the 10 Days War. It was deemed too dangerous for broad deployment. But yeah, it's not just a singularity, it's a portable star crusher. Now, why that would be used in a war against robots is beyond me. Perhaps they're like solar powered or whatever. But that's like the second, like, sort of like giant major conflict that is mentioned by the Hegemony Man. There are still some other items referring to them. Like the alien sidearm refers to Hegemony Man has fought and won 3 major wars with alien races. Hundreds of these pistols were salvaged after the second one. This referring to the Halo games, of course, but also referring to, I mean, gives you knowledge that Hegemony Man, like, they are we don't know the details, but I mean, if I were a betting man, I would bet the Hegemony Man were the aggressors, considering how they deal with everything else. And then there's a variety of other weapons that refer to just Hegemony Man. The mass shotgun, used by highest ranking soldier of the Hegemony Man. Designed for rapid deployment and easy storage. The combined rifle. But this one is, I mean, it's of course a Half-Life reference. But this is alien technology co-opted by the Hegemony Man after the successful quote-unquote liberation of Planet 17. The railguns prototype and the straight-up one. They were this one's a prototype used by the Hegemony Man. And punch a hole in anything up to a destroyer-class starship. Keeping note, this is a destroyer. But it's a dreadnought. Never mind, it's not a destroyer. Don't look at me. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed for not knowing a dreadnought from my destroyer. Alright, I'm over it. But yeah, then there's just the railgun, which is just a prototype having been in production now. And there's a rifle, Hegemony Carbine, advanced issue rifle for troops, primarily by elite human soldiers, as the Hegemony combat robots have superior weaponry. Now, here's the question. It mentions the shock troopers being decommissioned. Does that mean, with robots still being mentioned, this may mean that they still utilize, like, robotic troops? Perhaps for the policing, the humans are used because they were used to arrest the convict, and the robots left on the war front. I mean, that's just theory. And then, of course, the Hegemony rifle, the standard issue. Decent punch, but the accuracy leaves much to be desired. Typical Hegemony work. And this could just refer to it being like a stormtrooper rifle, type rifle. And the Hegemony being, of course, the Empire. Now, there is also the science cannon, which is something that shoots a laser. But this one wasn't actually used by the Hegemony Man, but it was developed to try to win over a military contract. And then there's another one, like the Fat Line, that mentions the Hegemony Man. The Fat Line's like uses tachyons that are particles that move faster than light. The Hegemony Man used them for interstellar communication. As with all technology, it was eventually weaponized. Now, I'm unclear. It is unclear if Hegemony of Man simply constantly uses the technology and then weaponized it, or if they popularized the use and someone else made a weapon out of it. That bit is unclear. But I'm including it here because, I mean, it'd be technology Hegemony weaponized if they did. So yeah, all in all, the Hegemony meant, like, just a quick recap. They just have a stranglehold on nearly every aspect in the galaxy. Several galaxies, actually. Use a lot of weapons. There's the Void Core, which dissolved, and its former captain went to the Gungeon and died. Robotic shock troopers that they decommissioned. The robot fled to the Gungeon. And Blamey potentially could have been the detective pursuing the robot. And in House of the Gundead, they come into direct conflict with the Babylonian Empire, or, I mean, we'll get into that. So all in all, military bad. Military government bad. That's all I have to say. Now, these next two, these will probably be the last ones I cover. And also, they're directly linked. First things first, Kaliber. And I'll just be going in for the purposes of going in. Now, Kaliber is the goddess of guns and bullets. She is, I mean, of course, referred to like the Hindu god Kali, who is also said to have multiple arms, such as Kaliber is referred to having 7. As mentioned by the Shambling Round, totemic offering to the 7-armed goddess of bullets. But we never meet Kaliber directly. Well, okay. I suppose there is one place that would be fitting to have this conversation. And I can give some, like, cliff note, like, bits. Give a whole crest. Give a makeshift cannon. And that's just to make the boss easier, because there is, like, one place specifically that would be useful to have this conversation. Or, fitting, more like. And I can just give myself junk. Like, 10 junk. Because a mechanic the robot has is they have damage scaling with junk. 5% damage, bonus damage for every piece of junk they have. So with the junk, with 10 junk, that's 50% damage. Oh, really? All this way? Either way, with Kaliber, he is essentially, quote-unquote, behind all of it. As some would say. He's the leader of the Gundead, which is like, all these enemies are fighting now. She has her own sort of cult/church dedicated to her, the Order of the True Gun. And there are those who try to receive her blessing, or her ire. It said that she's the one that sent down the bullet, the Great Bullet. The very bullet that made the Gungeon into what it is. I can't believe I made that. I just wish this wasn't so far down. But yeah, if there's a pie related to guns in the Gungeon, you can bet that Kaliber has her finger in it. And there's Blockner, which, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, Blockner can appear as a mini boss after defeating him. Look at me. Also, that's the sound of a chest spawn. There it is. That's useful. Alright. But, Kaliber even has their own sort of scripture to say. Well, okay. Just to sort of go over it. Or just one quick thing, as tidbit as we go there, is that the Cardinals, they spread her word. High-ranking member in the Order of the True Gun. They spread the word of Kaliber amongst the Gundead, and are empowered by her blessing. We saw plenty of them in the Abbey, and there's a reason we're going back to the Abbey. And then there's the veteran Bulletkin, who have an eye patch, though not necessarily in part due to losing an eye. Because you yourself can get an eye patch. Let's see, where is it? Once again, but you yourself can get an eye patch, which, as you can assume, it trades a bit of your depth perception in exchange for a bit of for Kaliber's blessing. Okay, so where is it? Okay, eye patch. The runes carved into the leather of the sight patch represent our bargain with Kaliber, revered gun goddess. Exchange for depth perception, she will bless each bullet fired. You know, it's a bit of a, it's just one of those things. Too bad I can't use any of these parts. I will cheat. Give wax. If I imagine if I missed that point blank. Like that, yeah. You know, okay, after that, that just becomes funny. Either way, so... You know, Kaliber has, you know, her finger into the Gundead pie. Or rather, she's the baker of the pie, if you want to go with that analogy. And that's just useless. But as the Abbey just sort of is dedicated to her worship, or rather the Order, and it's just that the Abbey is related to her. And this can be like sort of seen, or well, rather more directly noticed, when you clear this floor. You beat the old Iron King, who's the boss of this floor. The drunkard will mention, "Oh, you went to the forge." Not many can say that. So this place is said to have been close to the forge. I'm just give myself a map real quick so we can just find the boss real quick. I feel like there's a demon. Okay. Once again, it's quite the trek. But Kaliber can also be found within the Kill Perilous boss. Like, of course, they possess 4 statues, but once you kill 3 of them, and I wasted both a blank and got hit. Good job, Tuba. I'm surprised I know this doesn't do more damage against, like, jammed, considering, like, filling the necromorph roll. Either way. Once you kill 3 of the Kill Perilous, and, like, yeah, that's Kaliber's Blessing right there. The sort of homing attack they can just do. Yeah, so once you kill, like, 3 of the Kill Perilous, you unlock a sort of, like, of course, humans are also, the Order of the True Gun and the Gundead are not the same thing. It's, like, it's important to note that. I have remote bullets. I do. Now, what was this thing? Now, once you defeat the 3 of the Kill Perilous, the 4th becomes, excuse me, a sort of facsimile of Kaliber. Not Kaliber herself, but, like, rather, just, it looks like her. And if you when you talk to the drunkard after that, he tells you, like, did you see her at the end? It's like no, you don't need to say anymore. I can tell. Like that kind of thing. And rather than going to the Kill Perilous boss, I'll go to another place where you can find a statue. Yeah, over there to the left, Kaliber, a statue of Kaliber. Notably with only 6 guns instead of 7. And and we'll bring up the old Iron King, because there may be relation. Good job, Tuba. Okay, so now here is a good place to talk. Oh yeah, the chamber gun. Isn't that nice? Okay, come on, synergy. Yeah. What is this synergize with? Oh, I have gun soul. So yeah, these statues of Kaliber, these banners of Kaliber, and what seems to be a banner of the bullet. And okay, we'll get into the old crest for how that relates later. So you know, how it goes is that the great bullet struck when the gun that can kill the past was created, because this was mentioned by the blacksmith. Now, or this is some theory. Potentially, it could have been fired. Now, she fired the bullet, what's likely. And it's described that an old magic surrounds the Gungeon time and traps those alongside the Gundead to hunt them down. Now, the purpose as to why, we'll get into, like about now. But first things first, like that bit about the old magic trapping in time, like that's why you need the planar lead. Like why or specifically why you need to make the bullet that can kill the past. Because the old magic of the Gungeon keeps people trapped in time. I don't know if you could travel back to the past proper that you wanted to kill without the bullet that can kill the past, but you definitely need it to bypass the time magic. that keeps you in the Gungeon. Now then, seven-armed goddess, worshipped by the cult of the Gundead, and is worshipped officially through the Order of the True Gun. And this is where we start relating to items. The Laser Lotus, which I remember passing by a lot, so I should be able to find it. This is given by anyone who reach level 5 in the order. And then there are even documents referred to as being taken from it. Documents are claimed from the Order of the True Gun imply that on occasion, a cultist briefly attains Gunvana while chambering its round. And you know, of course, cultist referring to straight up human cultists. Like the Gungerers, Singers, the Mancers, and of course, straight up human cultists. A growing desire to leave or change the past, these fanatical worshippers of the gun are erratic and unpredictable. So these are former Gungeonians converted to the Order. Okay, and then mentioning how I mentioned the Ring of Triggers as like a sort of rare item. This ring bestows the bearer the now obvious knowledge that within the walls of the Gungeon, all items are guns in strange, disordered form. An artifact of the Order's belief in transgunstantiation. And then, of course, there's the Bloody Eye, which is used by gun cultists in dark rituals, hoping to gain favor of the Order. However, they also have their sort of fears and sort of banished, feared artifacts, like the Elder Blank, feared by the Order of the True Gun, and Anathema, the Gun kind, because this is a gun blank that can be reused over and over. And since blanks erase bullets, the cult fears it. And going back to gun descriptions, there's the Demon Head, which mentions that there were 3 tails of demons beneath the forge. All end in fire. Yeah, so the Kill Pillars, they take her form. They take her form at the end. They take the form of this statue and just start stomping around. You know, it's red and glowing eyes. But the drunkard tells you, "Tell me, at the end, did you see her? I can see in your eyes that you did. Know this. She is behind much of this." So, that's important to mention. That the drunkard knows of Kaliber. And referring to the High Priest, he's the Forcer of the Order, the avatar of Kaliber in the mortal plane. The High Priest that leads the Order of the True Gun. And of course, they had Kill Brothers. Perhaps they are bound by a yet darker power. And that could refer to perhaps Kaliber bound them to the statues as a sort of protector. But the High Priest is mentioned again in the Gunslinger's Ashes. And keep note, the character that is the past version of the Lich that you can play in the present, Gunslinger. The precise methods used to preserve a body with a gun intact have been lost to time, but the High Priest, first of the gun, still remembers. And what does the Gunslinger's Ashes do? Shoots these types, and then they'll go around shooting enemies with their gun. And of course, as we saw, the shambling rounds are sort of totem offerings. But Gun Reapers, they are her will incarnate, hunting down the living. It's unsure if the GM is under Kaliber's control, or if they are simply a second thing related to Cursed or the Jammed. Now then. Now if we spawn... Okay, so that doesn't work. I don't even know what they'd be called. Either way. So these things, the confirmed, which you need to kill like 10 of these to unlock an item called the Yellow Chamber, which that will come up in a second. Like they appear, and they like have these like hidden eyes and whatnot. And what they do as you can see, like they shoot like these sort of tendrils around. Form all, and they said like form all these eyes you can soften within the entry. But as you can see, they're more eldritch than like Kaliber, and that actually will come up. Like that is related to a thing potentially relating to Kaliber. Yeah, they possess strange powers granted by whatever being blighted them. And some of the sprites in the code refer to them as Kaliber cultists. Yeah, so we have a bunch of cardinal kin here in the Abbey too. You know, this banner, the statues. And then we have the old Iron King, who is the Abbey. Ancient king, protector of the royal crypt, lives forever as a demigod. Who made him a demigod? Now, is he blessed by Kaliber to a demigod status, or is he related to her? And relating to the Abbey, again, is the old crest. Crest of a strange religion, the edges are scuffed and worn as it has been slid to a frame, showing that it's the key to the Abbey. It depicts a great bullet falling from the sky, surrounded by prostrating Gundead figures. So this refers to how there is a direct connection between the Order of the True Gun and the Great Bullet. And during the reign of the Old King, it was like during the Gummy entry. The old kings who ruled, ancient Gundead would tightly wrap spent shells in bandages and pull the slug out. So, like, this showed, like, there was a completely different, like, burial ceremony. Dang it. And Kaliber's been known to, like, give artifacts and whatnot as well. And blessings and whatnot. And this one's just more of, like, a sort of aside. But, like, angry bullets, they're imbued with the white-hot rage of Kaliber herself. As I mentioned, the eye patch are likely the same eye patch the veteran bullet can use, and they're inscribed with a deal to Kaliber for better fighting abilities, change with depth perception. There's a 6th round, which is a thing that gives you curse, blessings to Kaliber. One of the 3 artifacts that led to the creation of the Jammed. We'll be visiting this again. As a curses grow louder, Kaliber smiles upon the bearer of this omen. Then there's a riddle of lead, given to the first hero to master Gungeon. His skill attracted the envy of Kaliber herself. This is likely the gunslinger, as the Lich is referred to as the Gungeon Master. As you can see. And then there's also the Lichy Triggerfinger that has a synergy with the the riddle of lead called Liches Get Stitches. So likely the Lich became the first Gungeon to master the Gungeon, past becoming a Lich. The Great Bullet fired, banished him to Bullet Hell, but he came back as a Lich and mastered the Gungeon still. And you unlock the riddle of lead by killing the Lich for the first time. The first time you kill the Lich, you unlock this, so likely you take it from him as you kill him. And there's also a Blood Shrine that mentions Kaliber, which I was lucky to run across. I could have sworn. No, nope, nope, nope. Okay, it appears I do not have it. Anyway, there is a shrine, like a blood shrine, that mentioned you can sacrifice a heart to get like a sort of blood blessing that lets you steal health from enemies. And it mentions Kaliber. And Kaliber does have, like, aside from just blessing, she has artifacts. Now, the Yellow Chamber, it allows the kin to see. It occasionally, like, charms enemies permanently, but also will, like, take them with tentacles as you clear the room. Like, after you clear the room. Keep that in mind. Now, there's the Holy Grail, which is an artifact of Kaliber directly stated. It was lost until the Mind Flayers in the Metro Kin came through, meaning it was lost like through the curtain in a different plane of existence entirely. Now we have the, and this is just easier. See if I can spell this right. Abyssal Tentacle, you know. Now, if you get the Holy Grail, Cursed Bullets, or the Yellow Chamber, with Kaliber, you get Kapal Ubum Kufang. Like Kaliber, Kapal Ubum Kufang. Now, with the Holy Grail related to both the Yellow Chamber and Kaliber being this thing, it can be referred to that those great tentacles because give Holy Grail. Withered Vessel, Kaliber's Grip, and then also forming a synergy with this thing. Kaliber, Kupum Upum Krang. I'm not even sure how it's pronounced though. So the sort of gray effect is related to Kaliber still. And those, like, referring to this great tentacles being called Kaliber's Grip. The great tentacles that would take away enemies when you use the Yellow Chamber are called Cthulhuber's tentacles. So, is a potential entity of Cthulhuber and Kaliber one and the same? With this being called Kaliber's Grip, I would think yes. And there's also the Dragonfire, which also turns gray with the Holy Grail, Calibreath. And with that being said, there's also scripture. Like, she has books. Now, there's the Gilded Hydra, created by Edwin. It requires all 4 main paths to be killed before you can unlock it. With all the nations 2-1. These are the words of Kaliber, she who grips the 7 sidearms in her hands and walks among the 6 loaded chambers. When the gun is drawn to the heart of the pacifist, and when the chambers are empty, the shells are spent, the last of the jammed will ascend to seal the breach forever. This meaning that the jammed will seal the breach once everything is dead. So, is the purpose of the Gundead to kill all the Gungeoniers? Like, to break... Because once you lose all hope and will, like, you die permanently. So, potentially the Gundead is there, not as just to be there, but as a physical poison of sorts to kill those looking for the gun to kill the past. Once everything... And it's applied, like, once everything is done, once there's no more people seeking the gun that can kill the past, the Gungeon shall be sealed. But here's the other thing. Is this book from before or after the Gungeon's creation? We know. And there's another entry in Wolven Nations too, with the Shalagun, created by Nguyen, who, like, this, keep Nguyen in mind. Relations 22:12. As with all things, the gun must eventually end. The final bullet will leave the chamber, and all will be reloaded. Now, does this refer to a sort of cycle? Like, has there been multiple Gungeons? Whenever someone creates a Gungeon that can kill the past, does another great bullet fire? Now, what does it mean to be reloaded? And it, like, refers to the gun as capital, like the gun that can kill the past, or is it like, is there more heretical guns that Kaliber deems worthy of like destruction? Because, like, when the gun is referred to, mostly it's usually referring to like the gun that can kill the past as like a sort of shorthand form. Now, does this refer to the gun that can kill the past, or any sort of heretical gun? Or is it just the idea of guns itself? And so, you know, all nations, you know, both be revelations. But yet, there is also one more. A particulator, which is said to be a gun from the future. Genesis 1:1. The beginning, the Gungeon was formless and void, and bullets moved over the face of the deep. Now, formless and void, does this mean the Gungeon is more of an idea? Only coming in its physical form should Kaliber indeed prevent the use or creation of a heretical gun, like the gun that can kill the past. Because there are definitely things that Kaliber considers, like, blasphemous. Is this referred to this, how the Gungeon is more of a state of being? Like, is a Gungeon more this is the first means the idea of a Gungeon is abstract. What is, like, yeah, it sort of brings in the question, what is the connection between Kaliber, the Gungeon, and the Gungeon structure, and the Great Bullet? And then, of course, well, now I gotta take a break. Thankfully, I'll be able to notate this in the, Of course, I forgot to mute again, like an idiot. Oof. I wonder how long I forgot to do that. You know, I think I was so good, too. But yeah, so, you know, maybe think about that connection for a second. Because now I sort of need to, I need to do this. So I'll I'll be sure to, you know, put this in the, oh, I'm sure to notate this in the thing. The timestamps, there we go. When all is done. When I do add them. So, for now, I guess, enjoy the music and I'll just wave my wand around. And just enjoy this. Enjoy the music until I'm back. And then we'll cover the Great Bullet, and then that'll be that. Because man, this took a lot longer than I thought it would. But I mean, then again, like these are like these three things, like the Hegemony, Man, Kaliber, and the Great Bullet, they are chunky. So I'll be right back. Payday. I'm back. In about 20 minutes. Not too bad. The school started. School year started again, so I'm never getting around parents picking up the kids. Or waiting for the kids. It's not even time. Like, it wouldn't even be time for them to pick it up yet. That's annoying. Yeah, here we are. So, I mean, just to sort of put it back, everything back into context, Kaliber. Excuse me, goddess of the Gungeon. Enemies, banners, statues, worship. The abbeys, like, essentially an entire church dedicated to her. As cultists and humans. And bullets. Although, I guess it's less cultist in this case and more just a religious official. These things may be related to Kaliber, due to the more eldritch nature, and things of more eldritch nature being related to Kaliber still. And then I guess we can try and find, like, one of those, like, because I have the yellow chamber now, so I guess we can try and find one of those. Oh, a wall mimic. Okay, those things are rare. Oh, and I got us a synergy. Hegemony special forces. I'm gonna give one of these to be on our side. Yeah, do your magic. I'm just kind of hoping we see. Nope. Yeah, they're blessed by Kaliber. The veteran, like, yeah, these are humans that are sworn to Kaliber. Or rather, the order, at least. And inside the physical Ammonomicon, the description for Cube of Flesh has a picture of a cultist ripping off the face, assumedly to be attached to the Cube of Flesh. So, you know, that's nice. Except for all the ways that it's not. Okay, come on. No one? I was kind of hoping we'd get a charmed enemy here. I mean, either way. Like, this has a synergy with the Holy Grail, which also synergizes the same with the Yellow Chamber, which has tentacles that pull down enemies after a room is cleared, called Kaliber tentacles, that are the same kind of gray that the High Kaliber and this, using the Kaliber's grip synergy, are. Meaning Kaliber is probably the same as Kaliber. And then Kaliber likely threw the shot fired off the Great Bullet as punishment for making the gun that could kill the past, thus sending the Lich into bullet hell. But the Lich still mastered the Gungeon, thus earning the riddle lead we take from him once we beat him for the first time. And then here is something interesting where we have the past version of the Lich. I mean, not the Lich, but the priest, in the form called the Low Priest. Back into the, just to sort of cut to unused bosses for a second, is known as the Vampire Mantis, but in Exit the Gungeon, that same design was reused and as the Low Priest, which is just the past version of the High Priest. That's interesting. Yeah, Kaliber has scripture that refers to potentially the Gungeon being more of an idea that just constantly exists as an extension of the will and punishment of Kaliber on on those who create and seek out blasphemous guns, such as the guns that can kill the past. And this leads into, with the Great Bullet manifesting the Gungeon wherever it lands. Thus leading into our final entry for today, the Great Bullet. Now, of course, the Gunslinger and Edwin worked on a gun that could kill the past when the Great Bullet struck, sending the Lich to bullet hell, and the Gungeon to form with its curse keeping people trapped in time, like freezing the Gungeon in time and keeping people in its loop, until like they give up permanently and die permanently. It brought the Gundead to life from shells, as described in the very first entry for the Bullet gun. Sentient shells are brought to life hundreds of years ago when the Great Bullet struck and formed the Gungeon. It also affected like living creatures, such as the Gungeon ant, formerly being a regular ant. Nope, none of these. I should be able to recognize a giant ant. Apparently I cannot. Unless it's by the very top, in which case then I should have went all the way to the top. Okay, there it is. Even when the Great Bullet from the sky, not even the earth beneath the Gungeon was spared. Ants that made the home beneath the floors became terrifying in size and capable of projectile spin. However, they're near extension and the last hidden chest. But like, so ants became the Gungeon ants. Spent shells became the Gundead. Not even the bats. Bats once nested here have been transformed by the Great Bullet. So yeah, what were once bats became the bullets. And same the Great Bullet too. I assume so. As for bosses, the Gatling Gull was formerly just a regular bird, changed by the magic of the Gungeon. It's long forgotten what it was like before the Great Bullet struck. And even the Dragon potentially could have been something else, because once you kill it, the Drunken and exit the Gungeon. Like once you kill the last Dragon, like he mentions that it guarded its hoard before the Great Bullet fell. Also to note, the Great Bullet is source of one of the bullet items that can forge the bullet that can kill the past, which is ironic, considering it only existed after the gun came to existence. But planar lead was once part of the Great Bullet that fell from the sky, the origin of all Gundead. It shimmers softly, shifting between material and ethereal sides of the curtain. So, ironically, one of these things that came to punish the creation of the gun kill the past is able to forge the bullets for that gun. But I mean, the Gunslinger seems to know a lot about what was like before. The Gungeon was like before, when it was a regular dungeon. He knew of the Great Bird, of the Gatling Gull being a regular bird. He knew that the Dragon was there before Great Bullet. And when you approach him as the Gunslinger, he mentions that it's been a long time since he wore those clothes, meaning he knows the Gunslinger. And then, of course, these mass rounds sort of apocryphal text recovered from the cultists of the Order indicate the gun and the bullet are linked somehow. Now, this could just mean the idea of guns and bullets, or it could mean the gun that can kill the past, or any sort of heretical gun Kaliber deems, and the Great Bullet. Wherever a heretical gun comes into existence, the bullet is there. This connecting with the idea that the Gungeon is more ethereal, more of an idea. That it's there as like a sort of punishment also a prison for those who make these guns and seek them out, and those who seek it out. Wherever these types of people are, wherever these types of guns are, the Great Bullet will be there. And then you get the Prime Primer. Some of the first Gundead to ever walk the Gungeon. And it has the energies from when the Great Bullet struck. And then, of course, like Planar Lead, it comes from the Great Bullet, but it shimmers from physical and ethereal existence. So it exists on the physical plane, but also on something more. Is this showing from like how Kaliber is able to just manifest it? It seems like the Great Bullet is more of a manifestation rather than a completely physical object. And then, like, when you talk to the blacksmith, one of the things she says when you ask about the past is, "We still not sure why the bullet struck or where it came from. All I can know for sure, it was with that gun, uppercase gun, he was working on when it happened." So this could just, once again, connect with how the gun and the bullet are linked. So just to sort of put it into like a big scope, just to read off those entries again. Nope, not high enough. When the guns are drawn to the heart of the pacifist, when the chambers are empty and the shells are spent, the last of the jammed will ascend to seal the breach forever. So, while that comes first, word-wise, this would seem more. The gun must eventually end, the final bullet will leave the chamber, all will be reloaded. So, with the Gilded Hydra, it makes it seem like the purpose of the gun, like I said, the Gundead seeks, like the purpose of the Gungeon and the Gundead is to kill those seeking the past. Seeking to kill the past, seeking the gun. Potentially any other heretical gun. Like, we don't even, like, I say this as a theory because, like, I would doubt that the only gun worthy of the Great Bullet is the gun that can kill the past. I'd be willing to bet there are other things that Kaliber finds, like, heretical enough to punish like this. And like I said, like, with all these things, like, implying the gun, like, the Gungeon is more of a thing that can just come into existence, like, when are these texts written? Either way, so it implies that after everyone inside is dead, the Gungeon will be sealed, like, from the breach, which is the entrance. And then all will be reloaded. The gun being, like, the gun that can kill the past. Like, its existence will come to an end, and all will be loaded. Like the Gungeon will cease to be reloaded, as in return to be beyond the curtain, only to be fired once again once Kaliber finds something she deems worthy of punishment. Because, I mean, the floors of the Gungeon are referred to chambers. And they could be referred to, like, the eternal killing of the the Gungeoneers, where the bullet came within as, like, being like emptying and being reloaded is to bring them all back. And then, of course, you have the Particulator with, you know, Gun Assist 1-1. This is where it all comes together. The Gungeon was formless and void. Bullets move over the face of the deep. So, like, this implies the Gungeon is more than a place. It's an idea that's always existing. It doesn't need something physical to tie it down. It just needs it's just like how the Reapers are the extension of Kaliber's will. Perhaps the Great Bullet is too a manifestation of our anger, her punishment for those who seek out guns like the gun that can kill the past. And the energy that comes with firing the bullet is like permanently changes the landscape around, but perhaps intentionally, make it more fitting for those being punished within. But I'll fully admit this bit is just a bunch of theory crafting. But I mean, like these are the threads we have. I think I see a connection between them, but if someone else doesn't, I don't blame them. But personally, I see a connection. But you know, that's it for Keep of the Lead Lord. And unfortunately, I'm just gonna put this up here for that's me going over what I decided. Like this will be next up will be the Gungeon proper. Not today, unfortunately. Oh boy. I mean, honestly, those are the ones I was most looking forward to. Like, that had me excited. Like, to finally be going through all that. But, you know. So come next time, we'll be going over the third layer. But before that, I'll be adding the chapters or timestamps or whatever to, you know, this stream. And yeah, going over it again, giving it a proper once-over, I think that was the good... I think that was a good call. Oof. Actually, wait, hold on. There is one more thing to mention, and that's canon. So just I guess, pull up the picture again. No, definitely needs to be smaller. So, oh, wait, can't. But look at him while I can pull up a page. With canon, it was mentioned. Okay, first things first. With a Gunham, it mentions that he was a vizier, part of a coup to siege control the Gungeon from its master, the Lich. He appeared fan-friendly to Bulletkin and promised him prosperity. But he had converted Bulletkin to worshipping canon or whatever, and then eventually comes canon. The charismatic sorcerer came to the Gungeon, promising prosperity and ammunition to all who accepted his master, the demon Canon. You know, this could be one of the 3 demons mentioned by the demon head. They had a deep and burning desire to usurp the power of the Gungeon for himself, to rule with a sweaty iron hoof. And while Canon reigned, the past was never killed, and no chamber could be reloaded. And then it says, like, a Gunham is just potentially still there plotting and gathering resources to summon Canon once more. So, the interesting bit is that it said no chamber could be reloaded. This throws a wrench into everything, a kinda. depending on the interpretation of what it means to reload the chamber. Does reload the chamber refer to whenever the Gungeon shifts? Does reload the chamber refer to when the past is killed? Or the Gungeon is quote-unquote mastered? This is the question that Canon brings up that I nearly forgot to mention. If I were to go with an interpretation, it'd be maybe perhaps that when Canon reigned, it meant no run could be completed, and that when you complete a run, that's when the reloading happens. But I mean, it mentions in like one of the books that all will be reloaded at the end of it at all, like at the end of the gun. So it's one of those things where like I'm trying to get the threads as best as I can, but I can't quite tie these ones together. I could try, but I mean, some of these ropes don't reach to tie into a knot. But, you know, I mean, all in all, it's just fun theory crafting. Nothing to lose sleep over, really. I think I tied together a pretty good picture. I mean, there's some holes, but I mean, that's gonna happen when you work with nebulous concepts like these. But yeah, I'm happy to finally cover like those three things. Like the next like big one like that would be like the Babylonian Empire, which that's not until later. Like, not next layer. It's not in the next one. I think maybe in layer 4 or 5. Maybe, yeah, I think so. Either way, so thank you. Oh. I nearly forgot this. Back in the Hegemony layer, something I forgot to mention is that the Hegemony tried, like I have to add this as like an addendum chapter or whatever, is that the Hegemony layer, back in the Hegemony entry, that they tried to take over the Gungeon once before, and that's where the tread knot comes from, and the soldier, like the soldier's bullet cannon. They had sort of like adopted the military practices and whatnot. And the tread knot is, you know, them. Like, is a tank that Hegemony used to try and take over, but left behind when they failed, and the bullet can, you know, reclaimed it. So I mean, that's just a little. I'll probably just put the cannon and like tread knot together, like group it together in one thing, like slight addendums or whatever. Either way, so next time we'll be going over to the Gungeon proper, which, I mean, these ones like should be going, I say it again, should be going much faster now that they are. I don't think they're nearly as dense, or requires like much explanation and like theorizing, I say. Either way, time for me to hit the Dusty Trail, whatever trails y'all find yourselves on. Hope to find you well. Bye.